For 3 seasons, Josh Hutcherson starred in Futterman, the sci-fi comedy adventure series on Hulu. I'm at Noble Gold Derby, here to ask you, Josh, what was the most out there thing that you had to do on Futterman?
Oh, man. Well, actually, I think in all 3 seasons, at some point, I had to attach a penile prosthetic to myself. Something that I never dreamed that I would do coming into this business, something I maybe never wanted to do, but nevertheless, it was a very unique experience that I'm happy to never have again. But that was that was pretty out there.
Yeah, and I guess there were a few probably fairly unique experiences and things like that from this show. What do you think made Futterman special?
I mean, I think Futterman's special because we just went for it all the way. It was amazing to have Hulu and Sony Television get behind such a batshit crazy show and allow us to kind of do whatever the hell we wanted. And I think that the idea of playing on all these tropes from, 80s and even modern sci-fi, and the branding of comedy that Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg have is very unique and specific and hilarious. And just blending those worlds together, I think made it pretty unique and made it pretty special.
Mm. And what was perhaps the episode or moment that you're sort of most proud of?
For me, I think in season 2, we did a section of the season that we had to do twinning, where I played 2 different versions of myself, and I was interacting with the other version of myself, but I was playing both characters. And for me, that was a very challenging but fun experience to have as an actor. And the other version of me was this very crazy, whacked out, almost like Brad Pitt, 12 Monkeys kind of psycho kind of guy. And for me, that was something where I just kind of got to sort of completely let loose and just have fun with it and really go for it. And so for me, I'm pretty proud of that moment.
Yeah. What's it like sort of wrapping up a character that you've been playing for 3 seasons on television, and sort of what did it feel like sort of saying goodbye to everything and everyone and the world?
I mean, it's always weird, after I finished the Hunger Games and stuff, leaving that whole world was such a mixed feelings of missing the crew, missing the people, the cast, everybody, and the experience. But then, you finish it. So that feels good. So it's the same thing with this. I think anytime you do a project that lasts over multiple years and, you're connected to this character and this world and these people, there's such a mixed feeling. But for me, the cool thing was going into it, we had no idea if we were going to get 1 season, 2 seasons. Our goal was 3 seasons, kind of creatively, because I was producing on the show as well. And creatively, we always said 3 seasons was sort of what we wanted to do to tell the story of these characters and to live in this world. So I think we're all very satisfied with getting those 3 seasons. Honestly, shocked that they allowed us to, but we're very happy with it.
Yeah, how does it compare to sort of something like the Hunger Games, comparing television? Because usually film, you go do a film and it's all on the can, but you would come back for the Hunger Games. There were about there were 4 movies, sort of 3 sort of stories that sort of came together for that franchise. You had 3 seasons of Futterman. What was it? Very similar or very different, that whole sort of experience of coming back to a character and rounding out sort of a story over multiple years?
I mean, I think it was different in a way because Hunger Games kind of was, we knew where it was going to end ultimately. We knew where the characters were going to get to. We sort of knew, based on the books, where the plot was going to move and everything. This was much more unexpected, Futterman. We didn't know exactly what was going to happen next. When I signed on to it, I only had read the pilot, and then they kind of gave me a rough idea of what the first season would be like, not having really any plan of what the subsequent seasons would become. But there is something similar about for me, the experience, the experience of going and working with the same crew over a few years, same cast, and kind of creating that bond and stuff. But also, I think, in my experience at least, TV is way harder than doing a big, studio film like The Hunger Games. With TV, your page count that you have to shoot every day, and in our show's Futterman specifically, every episode we had some massive, set piece, fight sequence. We were traveling through time, so it was a very heavy workload. On Hunger Games, it felt like you got your call sheet for the day, and maybe the last 2 scenes on the call sheet, you just knew you wouldn't shoot them that day. And on TV, you had to shoot them that day. So it's just it's like a bit of a different world to live in. They both have their pros and cons, but there is something similar about just the continuity of the crew and the cast.
Yeah, well, and sort of even thematically with Hunger Games and with Futterman, there's like similarities in terms of like action and fights and sort of sci-fi, like sort of these futuristic surreal worlds and death matches and all these sorts of things. But then like also just the way comedy and parody and sort of reference like is in the Futterman world, like was sort of being on a franchise like Hunger Games. Was that good training for Futterman, or was Futterman such a different beast in some ways? It was sort of, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, there's some similarities. I mean, I think like for me, in a lot of ways, even though Hunger Games was, futuristic and a dystopic society and all these things, so it makes it. But to me, I don't know. It felt more grounded in a way. It felt like it was more rooted in something real. And Futterman was just so outlandish and out there that they're very, very different. But I don't know. I think just anytime that you're working in a project that has a lot of action, that has a lot of stunt work, you learn things, And so obviously doing Hunger Games, there's a lot of stuff that I learned and that I for sure applied, but the two they're so different. They're very different.
Yeah, like Hunger Games takes itself very seriously.
Exactly.
Futterman, anything but.
Completely.
What were your favorite types of moments and scenes in Futterman? Because like over the course, there's the smaller character moments, there's the exciting action, there's the absurd comedy. What did you sort of find the most joy in?
I found the most joy in the ridiculousness. The more ridiculous we got, I think in a way as an actor, it allows you to sort of disconnect from reality. And I don't know, I think kind of from like, maybe not day 1, but day 2 of the first season, I was like, all right, the only way this is going to work for me is if I just dive in head first and don't question it and just go for it all the way. And so I think anytime that I got to really push that to the limit of what I could like allow myself to believe could be possible, that was sort of where I found I had the most fun. Like I was saying, with like the twinning and playing the crazy version of me and all this stuff. The more ridiculous it was, the kind of freer that I felt. So that was really enjoyable.
What was the most ridiculous thing aside from the prosthetic penises?
I mean, I don't know how to top that, man, to be honest. That's pretty up there. I think, I mean, in the final season, season 3, there was a moment when I was in a relationship, Josh Futterman, was in a relationship with Marilyn Monroe, James Dean, and Jesus, and kind of confused about what was happening. And that was just so off the wall and out there. It was genius writing, and it was really fun to like give yourself over to that kind of ridiculousness.
Some would argue the Holy Trinity.
Some would argue that.
Yeah.
Some would argue that.
Yeah. What about what did, like, thinking about season 3 and how the series came to a close? Like, how do you feel about the ending of the series and how that landed, and sort of what was different about the 3rd season of the show?
There were some big differences for me with the 3rd season. We kind of, because we knew going into the 3rd season that was our last moment of finalizing the story and everything, we were able to sort of decide creatively where we wanted the characters to end. And then we kind of worked backwards from there to build out this plot. And for me, this season 3 felt very streamlined and very like nonstop go, go, go. And I really love that. I think that season 3 for me has the best flow of all 3 seasons. And I'm really proud of where we ended up with the characters. I mean, of course, when you're doing a show about time travel and multiple timelines and all this stuff, the possibilities are endless. So this show could have continued for a very long time. So that could have been fun, but also it kind of felt nice just to be able to set it down and be like, there it is. That show is finished. So it felt good, but it's, you know, it would have been fun to keep playing with that whole team. They're a really good group.
Yeah. As said, you played Josh Futterman in the show. You were Josh Hutcherson.
Yeah.
How are you most similar to Josh in the show, and how are you most different to Josh in the show?
Let's see. I think I'm probably the most similar in the sense that I like to make things right and make things good and, you know, try to do the best that I can. But Futterman takes that to a whole other level and has like a hero's complex. He's way more like nervous and jittery than I am. He gets easily rattled. He's very freaked out all the time. That's not really my vibe. I'm more laid back and kind of, you know, take it as it comes kind of guy. And he gets worked up quite a bit. So we're pretty different in that regard.
And what was the biggest challenge for you as for playing? The biggest challenge for you in playing Josh?
Well, the fact that his name was Josh was a pretty big challenge.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was super weird. Yeah. Like to have a character has the same name as you, and you're in a scene and somebody says, "Josh, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, sorry, it's a hard thing actually to separate." And ironically, the character was named Josh before I actually came on board. So that was actually a very big challenge for me, like as an actor, to stay present in the moment when someone is saying your actual name to you in a scene, and to have you not like click out and be like, oh, and like have that little trip up moment. So that was weird. And then I think for me, one of the biggest challenges was finding his voice in a way. Like I think that the way he's written sometimes can be a bit annoying and kind of whiny and sort of all the time with the same kind of intonation, and just trying to kind of find a way to be truthful and honest to what he is as a character, but not fall into kind of having the same exact delivery or expression of everything. So that was hard sometimes too.
Yeah. Did you have a director or writer go, no, you need to be more like Josh? That's not something Josh would do, like that type of like.
I mean, not exactly, but okay. I would do that. When I talk to the writers or directors, I'd be like, okay, so when Josh walks into the thing, and then I always try to stay so in it that I was sort of separating myself, obviously, from the other Josh, but it was very weird, and sometimes I felt like a complete asshole and crazy person, being like, I don't think Josh would actually walk over to that side of the room at that point. It doesn't really make sense to me. I think Josh is just like, wait, are you talking about yourself? It was very strange, very strange.
Yeah, like one of those pretentious people that talk about themselves in the third person all the time. No, you know, like
Josh would never drive that car. It's like what?
Yeah. You said about like sort of finding Josh's truth was another challenge and all that sort of thing. What was, do you think, ultimately Josh's truth over the 3 seasons? What was his big driver?
I mean, I think his big driver was initially in season 1 and kind of through season 2, it was sort of about this idea that his life had never amounted to anything, and he was such a fan of Lord of the Rings, of Back to the Future, of The Matrix, of all these movies that had the one, that had that person that could save humanity, and he to himself represented the opposite of that. In his mind, he was a loser. He was a janitor who played video games all day and lived with his parents. I personally think that sounds lovely, but whatever. So his perspective was that of himself. And so I think it was really, in the beginning, it became about like, oh my God, I have this higher calling to save all of humanity. And then kind of that became sort of a hero's complex of, I now think that I am the person that needs to do this, and a bit like a messiah kind of mentality. And then ultimately, I think that his lesson was that there are things in life that you can't control, and you have to learn to be okay with that and do the best you can and try to help whoever you can. But there are things that are out of your control, and if you live your life solely trying to like fix all the mistakes that you make, then that's not much of a life at all. So I think that's ultimately kind of where he ends up.
Yeah, it's cool. So some of the really like nice moments in the series, particularly thinking back to season 1, were just some of the smaller moments with like Ed Begley Jr. and like just those nice little seeing the comedy come out of those small little interactions and human moments. Is there a little, like, we've talked about a lot of the big ridiculous things that happen in the show. Is there a smaller scene or moment that you're particularly fond of?
Oh man. I actually really love the moment. It's in season 3. And it's when Wolf and I are he's prepared like this dinner, and we're waiting for Tiger to come home, and we're in the trapper times in like French Canada. And there's just it's like a really funny little quiet scene between the two of us. And it ultimately kind of like builds up to this sort of bigger moment. But that was just like a really nice, it's like a memory that I have of that being like a nice scene moment, and enjoying that kind of more personal connection to the story.
Yeah. What do you miss most about the show and your time there?
I mean, for sure, it's the whole team. For sure, it's, Eliza and Derek and, all of our producers and writers, our camera department, the stunt team, and just like, I mean, anytime, and this last season too, actually, we filmed it in Montreal, not in Los Angeles. So anytime, especially when you're on location and you have your group of people, you build like a real little a family kind of environment. And so, I mean, I feel like every fucking actor says the same shit, and it's annoying. I'm sorry. But it's actually the thing that I take away the most from it. And, that's really important to me. And it's hard because you never know, like, when you're going to see these people again, but when you're in the moment, it's like you're everything. So that's a big takeaway. I think that, and then too, just the idea that we could make a show like this that is so weird and is so off the wall, and the fact that they actually gave us like per episode a good solid budget to do these crazy ideas with. And I think for me, just more philosophical, to know that there are big corporations or money out there that is willing to invest in avant-garde sort of offhanded weird stuff. That just feels good, like as a creative, to know that does exist. As rare as it may be, it's out there.
Yeah. Did you learn anything about yourself from your work on the show?
I mean, I've never really done comedy at all. And so I guess I kind of learned that I can kind of do it, at least to some level of success. And so I think that's kind of a new thing that I'd never really explored before. So I think that's something I'll take away from that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. You did well enough to get that to at least not stop them from giving you the third season. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mess it up that bad, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. What is it? Do you have a moment where you sort of just felt like, oh, I found that comedy sweet spot that I didn't know I had before? Like,
I mean, honestly, I think it happened pretty quickly. I think that for me, going into comedy and television, two things that I have never done before, and just believing in the people that I was working with, believing in the writers, the directors, the creators, everybody. And I feel like day one on the pilot, I was nervous as hell, because all of a sudden I was like, shit, how do you be funny? Like, what do you have to do here? But the writing was really good, and I realized it's just acting. It's just acting and willing suspense of disbelief. And if you can merge those two together, it doesn't matter if it's drama, psychological thriller, or comedy. It kind of all comes from the same sort of muscle. So I think I kind of got comfortable pretty quickly with these people. I had to. I was whipping my fake dick out. There was no other option.
Yeah. Well, I think no, we brought it full circle, Josh.
That's right.
And there you go. And now with season 3 done and the series final wrap, you've got the complete first comedy and first series in the can, and it's all finished work. So congratulations on that, and all the best for the upcoming Emmy Awards and other sort of things that are down the pipeline for the series. What is it? Now you've done your first comedy, now you've done your first series. What does the future hold for you, Josh?
I mean, right now, who the hell knows? To be honest,
yeah.
This whole world is very strange. I've been directing some things, and I've got a feature that I'm gonna hopefully try to direct at some point. The idea was to go this fall, but obviously everything's sliding all over the place. I shot a pilot for a Showtime series with Lena Headey and Lisa Cholodenko, who I love, and I think that hopefully will become a show, and I'd love to do that. And then just like, honestly, I love working. I love being on set. I love acting, no matter what the genre is. Yeah. And so I'm really excited to work with original creatives that want to tell some unique stories. So whatever that is, I'm available. I'm ready for work. If you have anybody that needs an actor.
Great. Is there just quickly? Is there a genre that you haven't done that you would most love to do?
I mean, I love psychological thrillers, like any kind of movie, like The Machinist, Donnie Darko, Fight Club. Like those are movies that I really were attracted to all my life. So I love that world as an actor as well as a director. So I'm very drawn to that. So I'd love to explore that genre for sure.
Nice. Thanks so much, Josh, for spending some time with us. And anyone watching this video, you can go to goldderby.com to make your own predictions in Hollywood Awards and watch videos with other Hollywood superstars. Thanks so much, Josh.